resistance applied to the body, the concept of the body is torque. Then the question becomes, what is torque? Well, what we find in physics, the determination of torque, it's really force times moment arm. And this is where it gets a little bit more into it. What is force and what's moment arm? And moment arm is one of the most important things we need to know, not only what it is, but how to identify it when we're performing an exercises, so we can manipulate things that as trainers we don't usually do. I try to educate as many people as I can regarding this stuff because I think it's revolutionary. Rather than going out and just kind of doing a press or doing an exercise, most trainers out there, the only way they know how to increase intensity is by increasing load, which we know puts a lot of stress on the joints, right? So what if we can increase intensity? What if we can provide a progression without the bad aspect of pressure on the joints and things like that when they're not ready for it? Because sometimes it's good to have pressure on the joints for adaptation purposes. But when the body's not ready for it, which is a lot of times what we find with our new clients, we get new clients that never worked out before, and then we put them in a position that, let's do this exercise. All right, you're doing pretty good. Now let's go on this one, and let's go more of, let's put more weight. There's so many other tools, and I've had individual talks with several trainers here about that you can utilize before adding weight. The question for my training philosophy would be, what else can I do before adding weight? And there's several things that you can do as far as motions, positions, effort level, time, right? We can take all that, put it in brackets, and multiply by intention, which is something internally that we control with our minds. And you can take that formula and slash it over appropriateness, whether it's appropriate. So we can use all of these things in that equation and formula, slash appropriateness, on whether we should even be doing that with that person. So, looking at resistance, it's not, a lot of times we think that the weight is the weight. We get 10 pounds, that's resistance, that's the weight, and it's stationary. Well, when we look at, in the definition of resistance is torque, which is force times moment arm, we start to change things, right? So I want you guys to do something quickly. If you guys can just go grab a 10-pound dumbbell, and we're going to lift it right above our head. You guys do that? Right above your head, nice and straight. Just hold it there for 2 seconds. How does that feel? Is it tough? Is it hard? Not too bad?
It'll be tough.
Yeah. Now what happens when we bring the dumbbell down to the floor and we hold it there? Let's do that for a little bit.
It's okay.
Especially like that. My stuff.
It's okay.
So
It's just
a
like
little bit
50.
lower. Make sure you're not externally rotating the arm and making it easier by getting your anterior, your anterior deltoids to take over. Internally rotate a little bit. Get the whole deltoid in there involved. So, okay, drop it, right? You don't have to. So it gets very tough. But can we explain why? Other than the fact that, well, it's engaging more shoulder here. Well, that's not, I think if we add physics to it, we can really explain what's happening in there. And when we identify moment arm, then we can really make sense of it. Because moment arm is really the perpendicular, the shortest distance between the force and the axis. In this case, joint, right? So if we have a dumbbell that we're holding right above here, where's the force going? Which is direction of the force? If I have a dumbbell here right above my head, it's going straight down, right? Now, if we understand moment arms, remember, perpendicular to the axis, and I bring it here, and it's not going to be exactly 0 moment arm, like directly above, because, in joints there's things that bend the parts and things like that. But I would say if the force is strictly from there to my shoulder, it's probably going to be about this much moment arm. It's very small. So same principle and formula applied to this. Now we have a different story. Where's the force now? If I have the dumbbell here, the force is going to be, I brought this so that you guys can see it visually. This is force. If this comes right straight down here in my joint, remember, shortest distance to my axis, it's about this long. What happens when I bring it over here? And the dumbbell's here, and this is why it's so hard. Because the moment arm is increased. So if we understand moment arms, we can begin to dissect exercises and identify whether they're appropriate to utilize with certain individuals or not. So what's happening now, if we identify moment arm, we know we need several things, right? We need 3 things. We need the force, the shortest distance, and the axis. And in this case, we got force going straight down. If we go to the joint, the length of my arm is actually the moment arm compared to this little bit. Now we got a length of an arm as a moment arm. And this is why you felt that this is so much harder. right? So moment intervals are huge, 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 huge when you're identifying how to apply an exercise. So